Oh, yes, we're on the air.
Good time to unwrap candy.
Yeah. Hey. Mic check.
Oh, something for the audience. Where does this QR code go? If I click on it. Oh, it should. Nice. That's awesome.
I don't know what this is
Yeah.
for.
I like that.
Oh, Jane, Mayor, this is for you.
Yeah, I'm not in it.
You know, okay, all right.
We'll see you next month. It's got the word today in it. You think it'd be printed every day, not monthly? Just saying.
But anything printed nowadays is kind of nice, you know, pretty rare.
"30 seconds. The anticipation builds.
It's weird just to watch yourself.
It's time. I'll now call to order this meeting of the City of Whitehouse Council for today, February the 25th of 2025. It is 6 p.m. Ms. Hargis, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. James Wansley.
Here.
Zach Briscoe.
Here.
Foncel Burns.
Here.
John Chambers.
Here.
Michael Lowe.
Here.
And Matt Lazarine. We have a quorum.
Excellent. Will you please stand if you're able and join Councilwoman Burns as she leads us in a word of prayer.
Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for your many blessings, God. We thank you for your darling son, Jesus. God, we thank you for the opportunity just to come together again and be about the business you've trusted us with. God, we ask that you bless every family, every church, every business, all of our schools here in the city of Whitehouse. God, we ask that you dwell in this meeting. God, help us to walk like you and talk like you and live like you, God, and even think like you would. God, we ask that you continue to bless us even after this meeting. God, go with us, be with us, and keep us. In Jesus' name I do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join the council in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Y'all sound amazing. Please be seated. All right, that takes us into item D, presentations. We have a presentation from Keep Whitehouse Beautiful. Miss Cori, if you'd please come up.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Thank you so much. We just want to thank you for the donation that we will be using for our yearly budget for 2025. I have a short video, just photos only, of what we did in 24.
Cori, can you introduce yourself? I'm sorry, I didn't tell you.
I apologize. My name is Cori Edson, and I'm the Executive Director of Keep Whitehouse Beautiful.
Yes, you are. Please continue.
All right, so the first page you'll see is our 2025 year at a glance. So this is what we expect, hope to do in 25. Obviously, nothing's set in stone until it happens, so things may change, but this is what we would like to do in 25. If you flip over that sheet on the very back, you'll notice I did list out some specifics that we did in 24. And also the highlights of things for 25 that are different and in addition to 24. Well, some new things we expect to do in 2025. And this is continuing our mission to inspire our community members to continue to grow our outreach to the different organizations.
Excellent.
And then after that page, you'll see our consent agenda of our volunteers for January. So even though we're not at an outreach event, we are still working behind the scenes. We're still training. We're still getting ready for events. So we still spend a lot of hours. The next sheet is our budget, which has already changed from last time I gave it to you because our storage fees went up from $420 to $504.
Oh, wow.
Unexpected to be, but I mean, he still gives us a fairly good deal. But this is our newest budget. Does anybody have any questions on how that's expected to be allocated?
What do you mean, just general questions or?
Just general questions.
If I went to you today and I said, how much do you have cash on hand, total, in the savings, checking, everything cash on hand?
As of January 31st, total is $19,762.96. If you look on the next, after the budget is the balance sheet.
Okay.
That's our reportings. So, we received $5,000 from you guys, which we're using towards our yearly budget. And the $13,835, that is specifically set aside for capital projects. And one of our goals for '25 is to help beautify, with Aaron's help, some of the, especially the main corner, some of the different beds, knowing that we personally can't maintain it all, but if we have a plan that'll keep the plants alive for a year, we're happy to donate that. We're happy to help with the parks, that's what that's for. And we want to continue supporting students. So any student, any age range that has a project that supports our mission, we want to help them however we can, financially, physically, like we did help Lily and Jeff.
So you're looking for those one-time projects?
We're looking for anything, really. I mean, the capital funds project is not just meant to sit there. We want to use it. We want to use it for purposes that align with our mission and to help students. Even, we want to help neighborhoods. We have a Neighbors Caring for Neighbors program, which is slow to start, but Marie and Hal Downing actually inspired it because they wanted to clean up their neighborhood. And so we gave them a sign, we made them t-shirts, we gave them the bags and all the things that they needed because she wanted to clean her neighborhood, but she also wanted a way to get to know her neighbors as well as check on them. How you doing? Can I do anything for you? So we love that idea of caring for your community. And we believe everything starts at home. So if we can start small and grow it out, that would be great. So we're willing to help anybody. We all keep supplies in the back of our cars. So anytime I meet somebody new that likes to pick up litter, here's bags, here's a litter grabber. Have fun. When you need more, let me know. So we're all.
So that was this Marie? The Marie that's...
Yes.
Hi, Marie. Well done.
Yes, she's amazing. So we're happy to get inspiration from any of our community members and turn around and help them. That's what we're here for. That's what we want people to know about us. We want to spread the word. We're here to help. And we're here, if anybody has an idea or want to do something, that's what we're here for.
Well, I'm super excited about, especially now that we have Aaron in place, having a true point of contact for you and the Parks and Trails Foundation. I know Aaron's been meeting with them already and meeting with you to try to determine how to tie you into the vision of the city and that also aligns with your vision as an organization as well. I'm pretty
Absolutely.
excited about what the next year is gonna bring.
Yes, sir, I am too. Slowly but surely, we can make our parks and city a better place. If everybody would, do their little part in cleaning up, we wouldn't have to worry about litter, which I don't really wanna focus on. I wanna focus on education and how can we help people achieve their dreams of, environmental cleanliness. So,
May I, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I really am excited about you guys working with Mr. Aaron. And as I told him, I said, I have never been so proud when I come in on 110 and see that welcome sign and those beautiful little pansies with the faces on it. It tells people that we're ready for business. It tells people we're open for business. And it's just, that's the first thing, I won't mention the name, but one other town across the border, the worst thing in the world, I cleaned up that welcome sign 10 years ago. But that is sometimes the first impression you get of a city. The other thing is neighborhood team, outstanding job. I mean, neighbors helping neighbors, that reminds me of the 60s.
I would like to grow that. It's only a couple of families that are doing that right now, but I keep pushing it at different events and things. I would really like it to grow.
Cori, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Don't be afraid to work out of the box, do some different things, and I think I've shared with you, I would love to have trash can liners with Keep Whitehouse Beautiful, get that name out, and it's just an idea.
Well, we're happy to do that too. We would just need to know.
I think we talked
We
about
talked
it.
about it, size of cans, what we could do, but.
Maybe have a raffle for a electric bike. Well,
You'll have to fill out a grant for that. But we did do some great things in 24 that we did different in 23. I mean, we were able to support 2 students. The Stash Your Trash has grown. I did have a rainwater harvesting class at the library that was brand new. We had the wildflower seed balls we did at the library. So we had 2 events at the library that were different from farmers market. So we're slowly expanding. We made over 1,000 seed balls between our volunteers, members, and other community groups. We made over 1,000 seed balls. So we're going to continue to do that. So hopefully within the next 2 years we'll have wildflowers everywhere, which would be phenomenal. And we let's see.
one more question, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Ms. Cori, do y'all have any state grants going on or in process? I mean, all the neat benches we've got, and I mean, it's amazing what they've done.
Yes, so we just completed the Governor's Community Achievement Award application.
Good.
We will know about that sometime around April, whether, we win or not. So we would love that. Unfortunately, a lot of the grants and I don't have a whole lot of time to research grants. We really need another person to do that. But a lot of the grants provided by Keep Texas Beautiful and other Texas organizations, a lot of them are through HEB and Coca-Cola, and you need to be within a certain mile radius of HEB. So a lot of those grants we miss out on. A lot of the ones that they advertise at conference and online, we miss out on because we're away from the HEB. We're like 30 miles, or you have to be within 30 miles, and we're farther away from that.
But if you need a grant writer, maybe it's something to check out.
We've looked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know who to go to.
Just
We have a resource at the UT Tyler College, but we need to be more specific than just keep your eyes peeled for some grants for us, because there's so many out there. But like I said, the ones advertised to us, we miss out on the majority of them. Or they're more for communities who have a very there's socioeconomic, I don't know how to say that, but the relationship between the rich and the poor is very obvious. And we don't have that in our community. I mean, honestly, we're quite homogenous, and we do have community organizations that we support that do help our veterans and lower income families, but it's not a huge, as big as some of the bigger cities.
I'll give you one more hint. What I would like to see is the Veterans Memorial. Maybe put something around the Veterans Memorial, shrubs or something, or
I would like
if we,
to do
if
something
it could be
inside.
drought tolerant,
Yes.
you know, cause like it or not, it's gonna, it's gonna burn up if it's around here
Right,
without
and it
water.
needs to be, and Leslie, we did talk to Kimberly with ANRA, and she is going to give us, they're gonna print a new batch of yellow Stash Your Trash bags, and we're gonna get our logo on them this time, so excited. But they're also gonna deliver mulch, and we're gonna coordinate that with you, so you're in the loop. But that mulch will be used to fertilize the beds, because they have not properly been composted for several years, and that needs to happen, so.
I don't mean to take up, Mayor, but also there's a water faucet at the corner of 110 and 346 that I had them put in, you know, a hand water faucet, so we have water down there, at least for a
Okay.
hose, you know.
Right, and I know Erin knows, but when you first plant something, they need to be watered
Oh, yeah.
quite more than they normally would to be rooted, well rooted.
Rumor has it that we're not gonna get over 70 degrees this summer. Yeah,
I don't believe that.
I don't either.
Please, yeah, we won't interrupt again. Please finish your presentation.
And so in 2025, things that we plan to do in addition to what we've already done in 24 is arts and crafts at the library, which we've already done. That went really well. We made over 200 cards. Philadelphia Blessing, Oak Brook Nursing Home, Meals on Wheels, a church in Flint, and another organization all received cards. It was amazing. The NHS made over 100 cards. So it was a great community thing to do to show our love to our community members. We plan on doing YCC event whenever that is, and however it looks, and when you get a meeting together, I'm happy to go to it. However that looks, we really want to support our youth in their vision. Whatever their vision is, as long as it goes along with our mission, we can support it. And again, we want to help beautify the landscaping at 346 and 110. I think that's a definite, that can happen in 25, and we can make plans for other areas. And then outstanding yard, we were able to award 6 homes this year with a $25 gift certificate centers. We're adding Whitehouse Baking Co. and Engines Express. It's an auto body shop, so we're adding 2 more sponsors. So we're trying to promote that as well for people to beautify their homes, keep it clean and nice. And then we plan on painting your ugly planters and nature painting at Black Hawk Creek Hike and Bike Trail. So that's something out in nature. That's something that's part of beautifying and being outside that we want to add. We want to host a canning class. We want to focus on pickling scraps and making jam using strawberries collected from Philadelphia Blessings. This was Adrian's idea because a lot of times the produce they pick up, it's not good enough for consumption, but it's not good enough to go, I mean, it's too good to go to the bugs, right? So, but it'd be perfect for canning. And Farmers Market has a WIC program. I've already got the lady's name, so we want to invite them to this class. So we're very excited about that. Sandra with Swift Funny Farm, she's into pickling, so she's going to help us. So we can't wait. We don't know all the details yet, but we're excited about that. Also at the Rusty Jade, we will host a Black Soldier Fly Larva class, so anybody who's interested in knowing how that whole process works, they're welcome to it. And this is our 35th year anniversary, believe it or not. Amazing,
Congratulations.
right? So we're gonna have a celebration sometime, probably in September.
All right.
So that's our plans.
Well, thank you for sharing. That's the end of the presentation?
Yes, sir?
That was a good
You
one.
wanna watch the video? It's like 3.5 minutes. If
Yeah,
you
it's
don't
been-
have time
it's been
to
running.
play-
It's been,
Oh, it's been playing,
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys?
yeah,
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry, so
I've
it's been
been-
playing this whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Whoever's taking all your pictures is doing a great job of getting all that out.
Well, thank you. That's mostly me, but some of our other volunteers, so,
can I stop putting all this together?
well, thank you.
Thank you, Cori, for everything you do. Very much so.
We appreciate you very much. We really appreciate all of you, and we appreciate the community support and involvement, and if you need anything, just let us know.
As you walk out of here on your left, you'll see that 35 years of Keep Whitehouse Beautiful, all the stuff that they've done, huge milestone events in the city. So
Very much.
the organization has a great legacy, and thanks for keeping it alive.
Will we have a space at the new center?
A space for that? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, I've got more.
The walls will be bigger there. So,
I've got more at my house and in storage.
yeah, maybe you can reduce your storage a little bit if we hang up all your trophies.
I would
But
like to get.
we may have to rotate it through, but yeah.
All right,
A couple of ideas of how we're gonna display stuff for the community out there on a kind of a revolving basis, but it'll be better.
thank you.
It'll be as good as it deserves.
Yes, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Anything else on the matter of community interest? Anything from council?
Presentations.
Sorry?
It's presentations.
Oh, I'm sorry, presentations.
Sorry.
Thank you. Anything else from presentations? On to community interest, Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, the renovations at 109 East Main continue. We are still anticipating an tentative August 1st open date, so we're really excited about that. I know they've started doing some drywall work and work continues on the exterior that you can obviously see when you drive by. We did receive an update from Mr. Plepler, who has volunteered to reconstruct the Welcome to Whitehouse sign that was at the corner of 110 and 346. And he has indicated he's had a really difficult time sourcing the wood that was similar to what was there. And so we'll be working with him over the next couple of weeks to review some options, whether we do a shorter sign or use different wood as the source, some of those kind of things he's still working through. So we'll continue working on that effort. And then
Mrs. Black, do you know if that specific request for that wood came from council, or was it?
not to my knowledge, Mayor, I think he was trying to do a historic recreation and be as true to the existing sign as he could, but he is having trouble finding wood of that length that matches
Of that type.
of cypress wood, and so I do think we can have that conversation. I don't know that any of us are necessarily tied to specifically it being cypress, if that is the holdup. So we will go back and have that conversation with Mr. Kleckler.
I'll plant a cypress tree. And if that'll get us there eventually, I'll go ahead and plant one now.
So we appreciate his efforts in wanting to do a historic recreation, but I think there is a little bit of wiggle room in that, based on you all's reaction tonight. So we'll make sure he's aware of that.
Okay.
See if what we can do to get that moving. And then again, our survey for the Shingan Park development is open through about the first week of March. So we are still asking for citizens that have not filled out the survey to be sure to do that. The QR code is on the screen here. Last I heard, which has been about a week and a half ago now, we had about 200 responses. So that's actually a pretty good response rate for that, but we're always looking for more input on what people would like to see. The next steps for that would be once they have those responses, they'll start developing some concept plans with different ideas on what could go in that space. And so we will also hold another public meeting once those have been done for more public input, once that's been complete.
Excellent. Anything else in the matter of community interest from council? All right, that's the end of that one. That takes us down to public forum. We had somebody sign up for public forum, so I'm going to go ahead and read this portion. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.007, members of the public may speak on an agenda item during the public forum section of the meeting or at the time the agenda item is called for discussion by the mayor. Speaker should be given 3 minutes to speak. A speaker needing a translator and or an interpreter may be given 6 minutes to speak. Criticism of city employees and staff is prohibited. Those wishing to address the council regarding an item that's not on the agenda must be a citizen, property owner, or business owner of Whitehouse. Comments on such non-agenda items shall be limited to 3 minutes. The council will not comment on items not on the agenda. However, the council may refer to the item to city staff for research, resolution, or referral of the matter to the city council as a future agenda item. We have Mrs. Sylvester is signed up to speak. Ms. Sylvester, if you'd like to come up and state your name and address for the record, and please tell us what you'd like us to know. As soon as you start speaking, I'll start the timer.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Sylvester. I live at 1201 Hagen Road, here in Whitehouse. Been a resident here for about 22 years. I have a copy of what I'm about to say.
Make sure we can hear. Speaking of that.
Hello, Mayor Wansley,
Hi.
council members, and staff. We are a quickly growing community, and I believe that we are lacking in city services and infrastructure to support our growth. This has been going on for some time, and now that we have such a large amount of rooftops, new rooftops, we need it even more than ever. One of the first things I noticed in Whitehouse was the lack of code enforcement. It is embarrassing to many and brings property values down. We do not have a full-time code enforcement officer. Having one officer who is dedicated to this purpose could make a big difference in the way our city looks and is perceived. I've had an inoperable junk truck and refuse sitting next to my home since 2016. People in the neighborhood reported this for years before I moved in. No action is being taken to enforce established codes. If you look around the city, you'll see quite a bit of just codes being violated. And we don't need that. In addition, we have an issue with stray animals. This is a problem in Tyler, it's a problem in Flint, it's a problem here. Injured animals, we have injured animals and no animal control officer dedicated to controlling this. From what I understand, although the city owns an animal control vehicle, the police are taxed with this job when they have time. This poses a danger to the public of accidents and death or injury to the animals. We also need a shelter for lost pets and dumped pets, and we have many. I have witnessed packs of dogs running in my neighborhood and have rescued many from the streets. I have buried animals myself that have been killed, and I buried another one today. There's nobody to call. I've seen animals that have been injured. What do? There's nobody to call. There's nobody who will help them. The only thing you can do is run them over with your car and get them out of their misery. And that is just not, I've done that to a squirrel, and I just cannot imagine doing that to a dog or a cat. It's sad that with all the money that we are taking in, that we don't have these city services.
Ms. Sylvester, that's 3 minutes, but I can see you're almost done here, so without exception from the council, I'll go ahead and extend it to let her finish reading.
I'm okay to let her finish.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. To go on, dead animals have lain rotting on the streets with no one to pick them up. With our city growing so quickly, we have many more pets included in these households and need this position filled by a full-time animal control officer. We also need a full-time building inspector. This is important. My newly built house in Brittencourt never got a final inspection, or the city could not ever provide me with a copy of it. I had to fix so many issues myself at a cost. Also, there was not proper oversight in the drainage system there. My backyard got totally flooded with every big rain. My deck looked like a fishing pier surrounded by water. Perry Hall developed the land there and put some substandard pipe in. I'm sure y'all are familiar with that. One after one, yards were collapsing into sinkholes. I sold my house there. This could have been avoided by proper oversight. I would also like to speak for all the citizens who live alone in Whitehouse. We are being charged every month for more water than we use by a minimum fee. This is wrong. Conserving water should be encouraged. In 22 years, I have rarely exceeded 2,000 gallons a month. That's what the minimum is. Month before last, I used 1,500 gallons. The current billing cycle, I used 1,700. That is 800 gallons I have to pay for that I did not use. Multiply the difference by 12 months a year for as long as a person has lived here, 22 years for me, and you might understand how unfair this is to people. I would like to request a review of how much the city has overcharged residents per month for water not used in 2020 to 2024, for example. A change needs to be made in this policy to give a bill for the actual usage. Now I have a twofold question about what happens to all the money for salaries allocated to pay people for all these vacant positions in the city within our government, including city maintenance, which I understand has no supervisor now. Most importantly, with the additional thousands of new houses built in Whitehouse, where is all the extra tax revenue going? And a lot of people want to know this. The increase is sizable. We deserve the infrastructure to accommodate the taxpayers of Whitehouse. This concludes my questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving down to item G. This is the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda for your consideration. As discussion, consideration, and action on amending the City Council rules of procedure regarding public forum, and approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting on January the 28th of 2025. If none of those items have been moved on to the main agenda, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
I second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any that are opposed say no. With that, the consent agenda passes. All right, we have a lot of H's. Here we go. Other action items, ordinances, resolutions, and public hearings. Number 1 is consider approval of the fiscal year in 2024 audit, Gollob Morgan and Peddy. Mrs. Black, this is 90% of your agenda packet. Thank you for that, Mr. Cashion.
You're very welcome, Mayor. All right. Thank you very much, Mayor, Council, for allowing me to be here tonight. We're going to discuss the audit for the year ending September 30, 2024. First, before I get started, thanks to Leslie, Susan, Jennifer, everybody here, your whole staff, for their help with the audit this year. They did a great job for you. I know you're fully aware of that, but I do always want to say thank you to them. Before I get into the report itself, you have a 2-page letter. This is our communication letter to you as a council, because you are the governing body charged with governance for the city of Whitehouse. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but I do want to just address a few things. If you look at the very bottom of page 1, where it identifies significant risk, these risks are the 2 risks that we identify each and every year that we do the audit for the city. It's no different than any audit we do, any nonprofit, any municipality, any business that we work with, anyone. That's the management override and controls and your improper revenue recognition related to fraud. We address our audit procedures in order to mitigate those risks to what we consider to be an acceptable level. That was done in your audit. We had no problems or concerns. If you look at the second page, just to address the significant accounting estimates that we deal with, and this is no different than any other year, and that deals with the collectability of property taxes and fines. And we go through and we look and we make an estimate related to the allowance against that based on judgment and past collection experiences. Again, nothing out of the norm there. Flip on to the last page of the letter. Two things there to note, I think are important. Disagreements with management, there were none. That's always good to hear. And then we did get a rep letter that was signed by Leslie that we received tonight, that we addressed with them before we went over the report. We went into the report in detail with Leslie and Jennifer last week. I'm not going to go into great detail tonight. And I'll be honest with you, fiscal year 24 was a very good year for the city. It's always nice to come out when we go over the report draft with your management team. Honestly, we didn't spend a whole lot of time focusing on what happened as much as we did on what lies ahead. So as I go through this tonight, I know Leslie's got some things she wants to discuss or bring up as I go through the report. So whenever I get to that spot, you jump in. This is informal, so as I address some things, if you have a question or you want to comment on something, please do. This is not what I call a formal presentation at all. If you look at the report opinion, starting on page 1 through 3, and this is basically the reason you hire an audit firm, to provide an opinion on the financial statements of the city. And in the very first paragraph there on page 1, under the opinions, says we have audited the company financial statements listed there, the governmental activities, business activities, component units, major funds, and aggregate fund information. Basically says in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position for the city and the aggregate fund information as of September 30, 24 for the year then ending. This is an unmodified or a clean audit opinion. This is the highest opinion we can render for the city of Whitehouse. I'm going to bounce around a little bit, so bear with me. Let's start on page 6. I think everybody's got a hard copy. It may be a little easier to follow along. So just kind of, I'll jump a little bit, but I'll direct you to page numbers as I go. This is a condensed statement of net position, and it splits everything between business type activities and government activities. On the governmental side, for the most part, that's your general fund, which is your main operating fund. But it also consists of your ARPA fund, which is where you held your ARPA money that you received, and we'll discuss that in a minute. Then on the business type side, the biggest thing there is your water and sewer operations. On the governmental side, let's start there. You see current and other assets went from $20.278 million in 23 to $17.2 million in 24, so that's a pretty significant drop. Now that varies quite a bit, primarily because you have to consider you spend a little over $1 million in ARPA money. You spent $911,000 in your 22 capital project fund. Your general fund cash though went up, and we're going to look at that here in a little more detail. Over on the business type side, pretty flat. Current other assets did not change greatly. Again, that's a lot of cash was down some, but receivables were up, which means basically collected that money in the subsequent year. Let's look at capital asset activity, because I think that's going to be relevant with a lot of the things you're aware of that happened during the year. So let's flip back to page 36 in your footnotes. You'll see there's a walk forward there on your capital assets for your governmental activities. The big things you'll see there, of course, the land acquisitions, the property that was bought, $895,000 for the property on West Main, the property on Hagen and Railroad. So that came directly out of your general fund. I want you to remember that when we look back at that here in a minute. And then you'll see there the construction in progress, and that's the East Main project that you have currently. And then again, and that's already been mentioned, hopefully that will be in service, and you'll open the doors to that sometime early August. Looking down at some of the other items, the parks, you put some money in your parks, a lot of refurbishing of your fields. Again, part of your ARPA money went towards that. You spent approximately $895,000 for the property in West Main, and about $136,000 that went into, the fields, with some awnings as well, about $35,000. That's where your park money went. The infrastructure of $128,000 in additions was primarily some drainage projects on Hagan and Prince Charles that you had done during the year. Flip over to the next page. On the business type side, minimal activity. Primarily your construction in progress for $58,000 was a generator project at the water plant. And I believe Leslie may want to address some of the things you're doing this year, so I'll let her go ahead and jump in, because you're going to see some differences in this when we have this conversation next year.
So as you all know, Mayor and Council, you all approved adding a generator to our largest water generating plant. We have checked in with the provider on that. They are expecting a pretty good update for us in the next week or two on the status of that. As you all remember, it had a 12 to 15 month lead time, so we are nearing the end of that, so we expect that project will be complete in the current fiscal year. As Mr. Cashion mentioned, there's not much activity on the capital assets for our water and wastewater side. They have been focused basically on maintaining daily operations, and we have not done a lot of capital infrastructure work on our water and wastewater. That will change moving forward. We do have some projects that we are working to identify and develop costs for currently, and there are some things that will need to be rehabbed and upgraded. So while there isn't much activity this fiscal year, I do anticipate going forward that you will see significantly more activity on capital asset work in both our water and wastewater funds as we move forward in the future.
Okay, thank you. And of course, one thing you will see in the current year is the CIP related to the project down the street. That'll be completed. You'll see that get capitalized as new assets in the current fiscal year. If you'll flip over to page 51, a little bit back, I want to focus on some of the long-term liabilities that you have. On the governmental side, you can see you started the year with total long-term liabilities of $16.1 million.
Kevin, what page?
I'm sorry, page 41.
Oh,
Okay.
I think
I'm
you said
sorry.
51.
41, I'm sorry. 41. You'll see there's a table there right in the middle. You started the year on the governmental side with $16.1 million in liabilities. Long-term liabilities, you ended the year with $14.9. Of course, we paid a considerable amount towards our general obligation bonds, amortization of the bond premium, payment of some notes, which most of those will be paid off soon. And then the lease liabilities we have, the biggest part of your lease liabilities are related to a large IT lease you have with the city of Tyler, and then the rest of it is your lease you have with Enterprise on your fleet.
And Mayor and Council, if you remember, there was an accounting change several years ago that now requires us to capitalize the full amount of that lease, even though it's not all due during the one fiscal year. So you have to do it for the full term of the lease, as opposed to just year by year.
So at the what they call the full accrual level, that's where you show those lease liabilities, and then as well as under that lease. And as you pay the lease back, you're amortizing those assets over the life of that lease. So it's kind of an offset there.
Just a different accounting.
Just different
treatment
accounting.
than
That is strange,
5
yeah.
years ago.
It's a lot different. Your net pension liability, I'm happy to say went away for the most part. We do carry a small liability in the business type side down there. You'll see there about halfway down, a little over $10,000. But you do have a net pension asset, which basically means between your funding of your pension plan and the fact that the fund balance there within that plan has grown. You gotta remember, your valuation for your pension with TMRS is basically valued at 12/31/23. We had this conversation last year, you probably forget it, but and I'd had this with everybody. When you go back to 12/31/22, the market was terrible. So a lot of these pension liabilities for cities went up. And I told a lot of cities, hey, hang in there, because in 23, you're probably gonna see this change, and sure enough, it did. So because of that, you now are carrying a net pension asset.
That's a huge turnaround. That
That's
thing
a big.
it was looking like Social Security there for a while.
Yeah, that's a big turnaround. So anyway, so that's a good thing. On the business type side, you'll see you started the year with about 7.693 million in long-term liabilities, and it's been paid down to 6.406 million. And the biggest part of that is the 1.1 million paid towards your revenue bonds. Any questions on that before we flip back to the front? Okay. Let's go back to page 7 in your MD&A. Again, this gives you a good comparison. There's a table there, your changes in net position. We'll focus on the business type side first, and then we'll shift over to the governmental activities. Charges for services were down a little bit, about 39,000, pretty flat. And if you go back and look, you'll see in the history of comparing fiscal year 24 with 23, rainfall was about a little bit more actually in 24, but really the key thing was the rainfall hitting some key revenue months. Cities, water districts need some dry summer. They need to really have those peak times, especially in cities when people are watering their yards. That really didn't take place as much, so you had a drop off because of a lot of the rain we had, really primarily in the months of May, July, and August of 24. If you go back and remember, those are very wet months.
Mayor and council, if you'll remember, we did work to address this in the fall. So if you'll remember, we did not do an increase on our minimum water bill. We've not had an increase in our minimum rate for the past 4 years for water, and we did a small increase in wastewater, but we have not changed the minimum water rate. We did change the rates for some of those higher tiers to hit some of those higher consumption users. So to make sure that we are being fair and equitable between our commercial and residential customers and those higher tiers that aren't necessary usage.
Okay. And I think you'll see a bigger impact of that in the current fiscal year. Total expenses were about 3.79 million compared to a little over 3.2 million the year before, so that's up about 594,000. So again, when you take all that into account, we had an increase in our net position of 681,000 compared to a little over $1 million last year. So it's down some, but again, a very good productive year. On the governmental side, everything's pretty well up. Interest is up, property taxes is up, sales tax was down a little bit. Overall total revenues increased a little over 1.75 million. The biggest impact there is in our grant revenues, and that's where we spend our ARPA money. We've already looked at that. We'll see that here in a minute. So that's kind of evident throughout your report for 24. Total expenses were up 576,000. So overall, we had an increase in net position of 3.548 million, which was up about 817,000 from the year before. Any questions on that? I do want to go to page 18. Looking at Exhibit 6. Okay. This is your budget and actual for the year with your general fund, which is your primary operating fund. Total revenues, our final budget number was a little over 7 million. Our actual revenues were 7.475 million, so we were ahead of budget there, about $378,000. The biggest things come with our intergovernmental revenues, and that was kind of factored in and that was money that came in our SRO officers. Then also, we had an increase over budget in our fines and then our license and permits. So really, a solid year again because we were able to exceed budget on the revenue side. Expenditures, our final budget was 7.5 million. We spent a little over that, 7.6. Well, we were unfavorable about $102,000, which again, that's not bad. Most of that variance was in our police department and administration. If you go all the way down though, you will see that we actually increased our fund balance in our general fund by $42,000. Now, think about it because we paid cash for that property, a little over $1 million. If you take that out, that's a real healthy year. So again, you were able to do things to offset the fact that you made that purchase, which was something you had planned for, you budgeted for. So again, it may not look very positive, but when you consider the fact that that was a one-time thing, like we had this discussion last week, you're ahead a little over $1 million to start the year. So think about it like that. So a very good year, very sound year. The only other thing I want to address before I take any questions, let's go back to the very back. This was a unique year. Back to page 85. This was a unique year because you were required to have what's called a single audit. Because of the monies you spent and the ARPA funds you spent. The requirements for single audit for fiscal year 24 was federal expenditures that exceeded $750,000. Well, y'all did that when you bought the land on West Main. So we knew going in, you were going to have the single audit. Now, the rules have changed. That limit has now increased to $1 million, which is going to help a lot of small cities because it's, you know, you're probably not going to hit that for a while. We're seeing a lot of small cities hit it over the past 3 to 4 years, primarily because of ARPA money that was given out. So the good thing is, like we discussed with your staff, it was easy to test it because primarily your money was spent on about 2 or 3 things. So it was really easy to test. But basically from there back, you're going to see some reports that deal with compliance related to controls over your financial reporting, and then also specific compliance requirements related to the expenditure of those federal funds. We had no instances of what we would call significant deficiencies in controls. Everything was above board. These are unmodified opinions as well related to that compliance. If you look at page 92, that's where you see what's called the schedule of findings and question costs. And if you look down the column there with all the X's by the nose, that's what you want to see.
Yep.
You don't want to see any yeses checked. So anyway, and then it basically describes the program that was tested, which was what they call still the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. But again, we did not have any issues, no findings to report. Everything was done above board. Everything was great. Everything was handled well with your compliance. So that's all I have for you tonight. Any specific questions? I know that there's a lot of material in this. So anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add?
So, Mayor and Council, when as Mr. Cashion mentioned, you know, a lot of that spending was American Rescue Plan Act funds. As you all know, we have a deadline to spend that by February 2026. And then the other projects that he mentioned, of course, the land purchase and city center, which I know is planned all to be community assets that are available and open to the community each and every day. And so we're really excited to be able to provide those things for our community going forward. So we really appreciate your direction on that. I know staff is really excited to get those projects either open or going and under construction. What I really want to say though, and Jennifer will not like that I'm about to do this, but I really appreciate the work that Jennifer Musk does each and every day. I will tell you,
Yes.
I've never been in an organization where an audit runs so smoothly that most of the staff doesn't even know that it's happening. Because she makes sure that she has what she needs each and every day from us, and so I really appreciate all the work she does on that. Because like I said, most of us we know what's going, but we don't see the efforts and the amount of work that she puts into that to make sure that we have a clean audit and that our financials are in such great shape as they are.
And just to give you an idea as far as the timing of everything, we generally do preliminary work July, August. So we're already requesting information from her that early to get things together, even though your year end hadn't finished and completed. And then we were a little behind this year, but typically we try to get started on the audit sometime in the middle of December. And we always know that when we put the list out there of things to get, usually by the next morning, we have everything.
That is not normal.
That is not anywhere close to normal. I'm still fighting clients right now for things I probably requested 2 months ago. So that gives you the extreme of what we deal with in our world. But what you have here is wonderful for her to be able to get us that information and take care of us. And then the good thing is if things happen throughout the year, she reaches out, she contacts you, she gives us a heads up, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. I mean, we knew before we ever started the year, we were gonna have a single audit. So and that was played and discussed, and we were out here discussing the audit last year at this time. So, but again, she always keeps us in tune with what's going on. There's no surprises. That is a key. That's when you know things go well, when there are no surprises. So, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? I appreciate, again, the opportunity. We appreciate the relationship that we have with the city. I've been doing this with the city since I was a young boy. And I'm not anymore, I'll put it that way. So, I can remember a long time ago how things used to be and how things used to look. So, anyway, it's great to see how the city's grown and developed. You're doing a wonderful job, you need to be proud. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. High praise for Jennifer. That's only one of her jobs, and she does it that well, so that's
And
great.
Mayor, can I say something about
Yes, sir.
Jennifer? Jennifer, for me, and probably speaking for the council, but, you know, you went extra in the last 2 years or so of getting your advanced education. You didn't just stop. You excelled. You went and you wanted to learn more and more and more. And whenever you get initials by your name, you know it's a big deal, but I just wanted to say myself personally, outstanding, you know. Yep.
All right. Anything else from council on item H1? All right, we're moving on to H2, receive report and provide staff direction regarding drainage on Dews Drive. I don't see Mr. Hawkins here.
Don't we need to approve?
A
Oh, yes,
motion.
we need a motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need to approve the fiscal year end. Back to item H1. So all the information before you, if there's no other conversation, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve fiscal year-end 2024 audit by Gollob Morgan and Peddy.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, with that, the item passes. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, guys, I'm off tonight. I don't know what that is, so. All right, so the matter on Dews Drive, the resident is not here. So could we table this? Would you guys like to table this until next month? Entertain a motion to table?
I'll make a motion that we table it for next month because it would be just more prudent and beneficial for all of us at the council.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, with that, we have our agenda item for next month. All right, on to item 3, discussion, consideration, and action on approving an interlocal agreement for computer support services with the city of Tyler. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, if you all remember, this item was originally presented in January for our IT services contract with the city of Tyler. At that meeting, we did review some preliminary data. If you all remember, it followed the Republic Services contract, which also mentioned CPI, but was changed to allow for 4%. So the main question that you had when this item came forward was whether or not we could solidify just a certain percentage to be used each year for the increases that the city of Tyler was seeking for those services. At that meeting, 5% was mentioned. After discussion with Mr. Yastapani, who could not be present at the January meeting, they indicated they could agree to 5.5% annual increase, which is noted in your agenda packet. However, after speaking with Mr. Yastapani today, there is some concern the way prices are increasing on IT services and software and hardware, all matters of IT, that they would like to stick with CPI rates for IT services. Mr. Yastapani is here to answer any questions that you may have, and staff is available as well.
Yeah, Mr. Yastapani, please join us and introduce yourself for us, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Edson. I'm the current Chief Information Officer for City of Tyler and also your IT service provider for the past 5 years. And thank you for having me speak before you. As I mentioned to Ms. Black, I want to thank both of them. They work with us to make sure we provide all transparently, all the information as detailed as possible since January. And we've been going back and
You're
forth.
tired of my questions?
He's tech support. We ask him questions.
So, We feel like because of the volatility of the economy, that is the way it's going, the cost is, as you noticed, the CPI is coming down, but the IT cost is literally rising more than 7%, the package that actually, the page that I provided for you guys. And we think this would be more equitable for both of us if we stay as, so we can be able to provide the services. Because we also provide the initial cost for purchasing all the hardwares and the majority of them for the council, not the council provide the whole cost. So we're just breaking it down and amortizing in 3 years. So this way allows us to be sustainable and be able to provide that service.
So what's being offered by City of Tyler is following the CPI,
Correct.
Yes.
which is going down.
It is going down, so as part of my staff memo, I included a 10-year, or actually much longer than 10-year history. Screen has frozen.
Is there a certain month each year that the CPI is based on for the increase?
It'd be at the end of the calendar year.
End of
So
the
we would have, for example, what's shown here for, actually this is beginning of 2024. We would use the end of 2024 number for our contract starting in October of 2025. So that gives us plenty of time to make sure those increases are accounted for in our fiscal year budget, and as a part of our budgeting process from the very beginning. So we will know a full 10 months before it goes into effect, roughly what that increase will be.
So the duration of this contract is how long?
I think we set it up, was it an additional 5 years?
I believe it's an additional 5
5
years. There is, I think it's a little bit longer for the redundant fiber line, just to capitalize that cost
correct.
over a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So it's not a simple answer that it's just 5 years, but that's
That's
the
correct,
term.
yeah. It is a cost that actually Suddenlink, work with us through our contract, that if we cancel the contract, that we have to provide them the installation cost and all that stuff that comes forward.
So is there a cap on the CPI? If it's 400%, are we still?
Well, the CPI is, again, fluctuating as it's coming down, but the IT cost is really going up. I can give you an example, Broadcom recently purchased VMware. That, as you all know, this is a software that's for virtualization that you use. We went literally 400%, that is one of the packs you see, that I think is in Exhibit B, that we didn't increase you guys' cost, we just stayed it as flat. So things are changing literally daily. We just had a meeting yesterday as well, I mentioned to Ms. Black that CGIS requires for all 2FAs to come out. That's another cost that's coming out, that the state is not providing any sort of funding for it, that we have to scramble by October to do all that stuff, which is, again, is not included in this cost.
So, but we would still be attached to the CPI.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. I think it would be fair, because if it goes down, it's beneficial for you guys and gives us the opportunity also to adjust our budget.
I mean, I can easily agree to approving CPI. I just had questions about locking in at 5.5.
Yeah, well, that was because we just came off of a conversation where we locked in another provider.
And Mayor and Council, our existing contract was tied to just general CPI.
Yes.
And we both feel like tying it to CPI for IT services
Yeah, it
makes
makes
more
more
sense for
sense,
both
yeah.
of us. So, our contract that we have had has been tied to that already.
Yeah, so this is a partnership. I mean, we rely on City of Tyler for our IT services. So we want something that's fair and equitable so that you guys are able to hire the staff that you can to take on our needs.
And they
So,
can certainly do it cheaper than we could do it ourselves.
Right.
So-
yeah, we're nowhere near the cost of 3 or 4 IT professionals and their benefits and, everything that goes on with it. The servers are all in there. So, yeah, I would say if this is something that is seen equitable by both sides, then I have no issue with it.
I don't think either one of us are happy about it, but we could probably live with it. Was that fair to say? That's how you know it's a good
That's usually a good
compromise.
compromise. Any more?
IT is very important for fire and police too. Very important in it.
The amount of data that police officers collect during a 12-hour shift is
Mind-boggling.
incredible, and the sensitivity of that data, as you can imagine, is paramount. And so making sure that we're well protected is key.
Yeah.
Very
And they can
important.
sever the line coming in down 110, the fiber line, they can knock over the cell phone towers and we still have fiber.
Redundancy, right?
We will have redundancy as well in fiber. And we
We've
also-
already got a line that's off the main line, so that comes over from the service station, over there at the park, what is that?
At the South Police Station.
Yeah, the
This one is just
substation.
gonna go straight back to the city hall.
And this is new, isn't it? Redundancy is,
that is
is a
correct.
real
Yes,
positive
Yes.
forward, yeah.
And also what we provide is Citrix ability to work from home from anywhere. Literally, that just gives you guys, if anything happened, there's no power, you can literally just pop your laptop and connect to your cell phone, be able to provide service, yes.
Yeah, that would be impossible, but for the partnership with the city of Tyler, that level of infrastructure, so. Any more questions from council? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve an interlocal agreement with the city of Tyler for computer support services.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That, the motion carries. Thank you, Benny. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Benny.
All right, we're moving down to item H4, unless somebody tells me I've missed something again. Discuss, consider, and act upon an agreement with Express Pros Training to conduct strategic planning services. Ms. Black.
Mayor and council, the city completed its first strategic plan in 2018, working with KSA. And in reviewing the items identified in that strategic plan as part of our regular processes, it is clear that many of those items identified on the plan are either incomplete or complete or in progress. And we are looking for the council to set some new goals on some upcoming priorities and have a great discussion about that and get those kind of identified and standardized in a way that we can make sure that you all are holding us accountable to meeting those goals and priorities. And so staff reached out to some local city managers for recommendations, and Henderson recommended Express Pros Training. I met with Kevin Johnson, who would be doing your strategic plan, and discussed our hopes for that event, and he has provided a proposal. I've included that in your agenda packet. This is a budgeted item, however, we budgeted it at 2018 levels because we weren't sure what the cost in 2015 was, so staff recommends utilizing fund balance for the remainder of the cost on that.
All right, any questions or comments from council? We went through this process for the 2018 strategic plan. It was amazing. It resulted in a lot of the success we had in the city, including hiring our city manager. It's great. Yeah, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Express Pros Training to conduct strategic planning services.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. With that, the motion carries. Was that a Republic Services napkin?
Mayor and council, our goal will be to have that complete before we head into, or right as we're heading into the season, so that we can make sure.
Oh, that's great.
Identified in there would be included as part of that process.
Yeah. That way, some of the priorities that are identified, yeah, they'll all the way to the top. That's great. All right, on to item number 5, discuss, consider, and act upon engineering services for the development of a rehabilitation plan for the elevated storage tank located near the intersection of State Highway 110 and Horton Street. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, as a part of our regular reviews with TCEQ of our infrastructure, it was identified that both of our elevated storage tanks need to be repainted and refurbished on the inside and outside. And so staff has reached out to one of our new engineers, Kimberly Horn. They've provided a scope of work and a proposal to do the necessary testing and documents related to that project. This was one of those things I mentioned that we have some projects that we need to do on our water and wastewater side as part of the audit. We do have a representative from Kimberly Horn here to answer any questions, but TCEQ has given us until the end of calendar year 2026 to get these tanks rehabbed, and so we'd like to move forward with the one on Horton Street first. It is the one needing work the most right now, and so staff is recommending approval.
You said by when? 2026?
December of 2026, so we've got to get.
Well, you had to allow for the construction end to be planning. Now, this is water towers,
Yes, sir.
not, yeah,
These
okay.
are elevated.
Elevated
storage
water
tanks.
towers.
So the one near Austin Bank and then the one out on, Hagan Road.
Really? Okay. Hagen's in, just,
It's not as in a bad a shape as Austin Bank, but remember, they're looking at the inside and outside, so
yeah, okay.
this is just for the tower near Austin Bank.
Okay.
Refresh my memory, did we talk about something with the school district for that?
I think the school district may have some interest in a logo on the westward side of that water tower. And so as we move through this process, we'll be reaching out to them to discuss that with them if they would like to partner with us on that.
If we're gonna keep the lights on the water tower, I think
So
we
we need
can,
new lights, for sure.
we are?
We need them. We will look at it as a part of this process.
In 2017, I complained about the lights, and they traded them out with those low wattage LEDs
Thank
that
you,
you
Mayor.
can't see. I know
You took-
I wasn't going that direction, but
No, but
great.
it's important.
Looked like a spotlight.
I'm just saying it was my fault.
No,
It was pretty
the lights are not too great.
No.
Yeah, we'll take a look at.
Please,
some of those
let's
things
do
as part of
something,
this.
or
But this
turn
is-
them off.
This is the required engineering that we need help with.
Right.
I know,
To
and
get
I'm
started.
glad that you share that sentiment.
Yeah, every time I sit in the football stands, because that's the side you face, that's the side the school would like to have their logo on. And it makes sense. They're sitting in the stands in
Yeah.
the distance, you see the water tower, and they're like, yeah, Wildcats.
Yeah.
You can look down at your shirt too, because that's the home side. But anyway, yeah, I can see the school districts. I can see why they'd be excited about putting that up there.
Yeah, yeah.
And you drive into a lot of other cities, and it's go home of the Hornets. Is on the water tower. There's a lot of. It's a
There's
great
definitely
it's a,
some opportunity.
it's a great marketing opportunity for us. But I feel like the city does. The school does a lot of stuff for us when they ask for something that
Sure.
not a big deal. So this is Kimley Horn on Horton Street. You said there's a representative here.
Yes, sir.
Did you guys want to come on up? Is there anything you'd like to add? Yeah, just introduce yourself real quick.
Sure, Trey Braswell with Kimley Horn, 121 South Broadway in Tyler. Really just appreciate this opportunity. I don't really have anything to add to Ms. Black's presentation. That was pretty succinct in the staff report. We agree with everything that's in there, so happy to answer any questions you might have.
Oh, sorry, you made eye contact. I thought. So back to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, anything to add, Ms. Black? Any questions for
No,
the
sir, we're
representative?
excited to partner with Kimley Horn. As I said, it's a new contract and partnership with us, and so we're excited to get started with them and get to work.
Excellent.
How old is that water tank? Do you know,
It was in the
Looked at it.
report.
sir?
There's a report that TCQ issued. I'm not sure the exact age though.
I can get that.
And this is strictly painting, not, don't you have, fail-safe stuff to keep from, when it freezes, that it won't, blow, the water go out?
We'll be looking at all TCQ requirements and
Okay.
OSHA standards, so your hatch sizes and health safety standards.
I think you guys will get us ready to paint. Is closer to what's going on.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any more questions for representatives? Thank you for joining us, council meeting. It's been a riveting one. All right. So we have this item before us. Any more discussion, questions from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I can make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Kimley Horn for the development of a rehabilitation plan for the elevated storage tank located near the intersection of Highway 110 and Horton Street.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, with that, the motion carries. All right, we're down to item H6, discuss, consider, and act upon an independent contract agreement for building inspections. Ms. Hargis.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor and Council, before you tonight is an independent contract agreement for building inspection services. Jody Watson, our former building inspector, code enforcement officer, has resigned his position with us. But to ensure continuity of the essential services of the city's development, he has agreed to provide building inspections, plat and plan reviews as an independent contractor. during the interim period until we can hire someone new. The proposed contract is attached for review, and staff recommends authorizing the city manager to execute this agreement.
All right, this is very nice of him to offer services while we kind of fill the gap, so we're not without a code enforcement, without a building inspector for this period, so. Any questions on the contract from council?
I guess I'm just curious, like, so his services, like, his job was split into two duties, right? This contract is only for half of what he was doing
It is.
previously?
And it is on
So
a
we're
per, like an each per incident basis, yes,
So we're without a code enforcement
We are.
officer entirely?
yes.
Is anybody going to attempt to perform those duties
That's a good
in the
question.
interim?
We can get down to
Yeah,
that
let's
in
get to
item
next item.
7.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna discuss that there.
Alright.
That is a great question,
It
and I'm
is.
looking forward to discussing it in item 7.
I'm sorry.
No, that's,
The short answer is we are without a code enforcement officer right now and do not have a provision other than existing staff picking up where they can those complaints.
and doing it possibly for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The split was,
It's just part of life.
I mean, we have a lot of positions that wear multiple hats, or then that
Oh,
when they
yeah.
leave, we
Very much.
just can't provide that service for a minute. And so we're working to correct that in item 7, and so we'll
Right.
talk about that.
yeah, I
when we get there.
apologize,
Yeah,
they
no,
just
no,
kind of
no,
ran
yeah,
together,
no,
so.
It is top of mind. All right, any other discussion on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to execute a contract for an independent contractor to provide building inspection, plat, and plan review services for the city.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. With that, the motion carries. All right, we are on to item number 7, discuss, consider, and act upon separating the duties and positions of building inspector and code enforcement. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, as we mentioned in the last item, Jody Watson had tendered his resignation. As a part of his exit interview process that we did with him, we discovered that, code enforcement is different than building inspections. And with the amount of growth that we have going on, he was doing his best to balance those duties, but was really limited to doing code enforcement strictly on a complaint basis and didn't have a lot of time and opportunity to do proactive enforcement. And so we as a staff understand the importance of code enforcement to our community and to this council, and felt like this might be the right time to separate those two positions. We have not budgeted for this separation, but feel like it is the appropriate time to consider that and feel like it is a service that our citizens would like to see. So what we have provided to you are 2 separate job descriptions, one for strictly building inspections. We also feel like separating these 2 duties will make us more attractive to building inspectors. A lot of building inspectors don't want to do code enforcement. And code enforcement is kind of a unique, different role. And so we would like to rename that position to a neighborhood services officer. We feel like they will provide more services than just what your traditional code enforcement officer was. And it's really, the goal is to get compliance, and it's not meant to be punitive. And so we've provided, again, as I said, those 2 job descriptions in there. We'd like to split that role. The neighborhood services officer would report to the police chief. Building inspector would remain in the development department. Does a couple of things on the enforcement side. Should we not be able to get compliance, being in the police department allows them a better opportunity to work with our law enforcement officers should we need to issue citations or notices to appear in our court. It just gives us a little bit better opportunity on the enforcement arm than what we currently have.
But they would be a civilian just working in
They
the
are,
police
they will
department.
be a civilian. They will have to have a little bit more stringent of a background check because they will be housed in the police department and
Right.
meet some of those requirements, but, yes.
But it won't be somebody with a gun on their hip
It will
saying,
not.
cut your grass.
Not
Not a
a,
gun and a badge.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
not a sworn
Yes,
officer.
sir.
Right.
Won't be able to do radar. That'd be
That's a
nice.
part of code enforcement, no.
Yeah, no. But I mean, any other duties that they'll have just besides,
I mean, there's a list
I
included
just wondered, yeah.
in
It's a big list.
the job description.
So he or she will stay relatively busy.
We have too much to do for anybody.
And it could
to not
expand,
be-
it could expand even further.
Well, we hope that that it gives them the opportunity to do more proactive enforcement, so that we aren't just relying on our citizens to provide complaints. And so
Right.
that we are able to meet those needs before, citizens reach a frustration level that they're calling in.
We've never had one of these ever.
We've had a code enforcement officer in the past.
No, I mean a neighborhood services officer.
No, sir. Not,
This is
I don't-
brand new.
We've had a code
kinda-
enforcement officer housed in the police department before. It's kind of semantics on the naming of it, but.
Right.
Yeah, it takes time. The way we do code enforcement, which I think is the right way, takes time. It's more of a general approach. Try to figure out what's going on, why they're in this position. How can we help out? How can we get them compliant? It's not just hey, that looks horrible. Here's a ticket, fix it, or you're gonna get a bigger one next time. So that person will have a lot of their time taken up with the code enforcement backlog that we have and being proactive as well.
A lot of paper trail in there, Mayor.
I don't know about the paper trail, but it's just the
You gotta
time
do-
it
but you
takes
gotta
to
do-
interact.
You gotta do it perfectly.
It is a very specific process.
I like the proactive approach to
Yeah.
get stuff figured out before it does turn into a problem with people complaining and all that.
But to go back to your question, Councilmember Chambers, in the meantime, until we can get this position filled, it will remain on a complaint basis. Staff will do their absolute best to work with homeowners to continue to get compliance. But it will be on a limited basis until we can get someone hired for that position, should you choose to.
You know, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, just a registered letter gets a lot of attention. Not always.
Sometimes, but not always.
Not always, yeah.
I think that's one of the steps.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So, any questions or comments on splitting that? I think that'll happen more as we grow as a city. You know, the hats that are piled up on our staff. Leslie's the city manager, the floodplain coordinator, and who knows what else. We got HR and finance sitting over there. We got
City secretary,
yeah,
planning.
yeah. We're starting. So we've done that for a long time, and it's getting to the point where events like this kind of make it obvious that we need to have somebody specialized in one area or the other. It provides specialized services for our citizens, so they get somebody that does this for a living, and it actually makes it easier to hire somebody that's not a unicorn, because somebody that is willing to even be paid, willing to do both code inspection and enforcement is kind of a unicorn. So it'd be hard to find the next one. All right.
Just one last clarifying question. These two people, one reports to Paul and the other one to who?
To Susan for now until she takes her new role, and the plan, as to Mayor Wansley's point, is to Stephanie will take over as city secretary, and we will need to look for a development director.
Okay.
So the building inspector will report to the development director. Currently, that's Susan, and the neighborhood services officer will report to Chief Ferguson.
At that time, Susan will change her phone number.
She'll be right down the street. We'll know.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to provide an additional position in the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget to allow for the creation of the neighborhood services officer position, separate from the building inspector position.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
How much relatively does it cost to put somebody in that position? I mean, when you pay salary, benefits, gasoline, car,
It's
Just
estimated
roughly.
to be about $80,000.
about that, that's what I figured, yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That the motion carries. All right, we're down to item H8, consider future agenda items. We have a table item that'll be coming back next meeting. Anything else?
looked at the list for next month's agenda yet, Mayor, but we will, I have no doubt we'll have a few things.
Okay.
When we have the results for the Cheyenne Park survey.
I believe it closes around March 10th or so, so we should have them pretty quick after that.
I have a question. The LED sign for the new 109, I mean, it's in the works too, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's gonna take time.
I mean, it's
I
part
mean,
of the
we won't-
construction contract.
No, but we won't see a visible sign for another couple, 3, 4, 5 months, right?
I don't know the
I
timing
just wondered.
on the construction of
Just
it
wondered.
specifically. I can get that to you on Friday though.
Okay, coming soon, could be his first message. Yeah.
Yeah, come in. But I mean, you got a lot of excited people about conveying that. I mean, really are, you know.
The charter review, is that gonna be on the next one, or is that gonna take?
No, sir,
a
that will
while?
not be until July.
Okay.
So that's about a 6-month process.
Oh, they've started, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, good. All right. Y'all think of anything? No, pretty well covered. I mean, this is a pretty meaty meeting, right? There was a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
Once a month, whew. But I'm glad we're down to once a month, that's great. All right, moving on to item I. Number 1 is receive reports from staff. We got the January report.
That
That's
sales
slow
tax,
internet. Where's Benny? Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind, it's up.
that sales tax still it just amazes me with the growth we've had in business. You know, I keep thinking it's gonna skyrocket.
What happened, the property tax revenue in January? I don't remember it.
That's when everybody pays their,
Yeah.
that's when all the escrow pays their
Oh, but
property
we're just now
taxes.
seeing that because it's February.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I got you. That stood out to me because I don't remember seeing it in
Okay.
January, yeah.
I will say, several communities are seeing
Yeah.
sales tax flat. I mean, when you think
Yeah.
about the inflation on groceries,
I just remember 4 years ago, and it probably reflects that, we were here, now we're up here with, I mean, some great EDC initiatives, so. And it's reflective in the report, but I don't know.
Yeah, even with the growth that we've had in our retail presence, that's where our sales tax rate is. So imagine where we would be if we didn't have that.
Yes.
Because other charts in other cities are flat or more flat or down compared to ours, we grew a little bit to make up for how down the economy is, just in basic consumer spending.
But we got an EDC person coming on.
Yeah, sure do. That'll create jobs and probably more jobs in retail presence, but can help in retail presence as well. So when people are employed in your city, you won't necessarily see it reflected on your sales tax.
Yeah. Franchise has done real well.
Man, we tied with last year almost exactly. Look at that. Permits, people using our online permitting process? Yeah, good.
That's coming on pretty soon too, isn't it? That, or is it in?
Been on.
It's on a,
online permitting is.
I mean,
active.
complaints, you can send in it's coming.
That's different. It's live. We haven't pushed it out just yet.
Okay,
We're working on a few
just
things,
wondering.
but it is.
Until we get somebody to service those, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have,
It won't be long though, huh?
no,
That's
we
it.
just have a few marketing pieces that we're working
That's
on, and
exciting.
then we'll be putting
That's
it out
really
shortly.
exciting, proactive. Yeah.
Stephanie's done a great job leading that effort.
Yep.
The push cart has a ruler down the side where people can measure their grass, that would be great. Or your neighbor's grass. 100% junk and debris, 100%. All right. Man, I woke up to some sirens going down Bascom today. There was a lot of activity going down there. About 7 o'clock. Well, I didn't wake up. I walked outside to it. I don't want anybody thinking I sleep till 7. I don't.
I wonder if they're predicting a dry summer or a wet summer. I wonder.
I'll take it as it comes. I don't know.
You never know.
I'm not trying to predict
What
that.
almanac, you know. Weather radar.
Oh, yeah.
New time.
Yeah. And you're doing a new fire, request, burn permit request. Is in the works, or
Oh, I'm
Kinda
currently reviewing the
tweaking
current
it.
ordinance.
yeah.
Yeah.
When Mayor and Council, we have released the RFQ for court collection services.
Okay.
We have sent that out.
And that's separate than the property tax collection services?
Right now it is, yes. Yeah, those two are separate services. You can use the same firm for
Right.
the services,
separate
but they're
services,
separate
yeah.
services.
Crime by title. Look at that. We got a new slate. Man,
I saw
what's that black line? I see it.
This one down here is
That's
theft.
theft.
Oh, it's just look okay. Looks purple.
Even with cameras on the houses, you still got theft.
Yeah, I mean they get
We
caught.
only had one for
Yeah.
2,000 people.
But it's been a big help, ain't it, you? Cameras have been a big plus for y'all, ain't it?
Yeah, the biggest help is people locking their cars.
Yeah.
Taking their valuables out.
I
That
don't-
is the biggest.
I don't know that we covered this in a meeting yet, but we improved our rank in the safest cities in Texas. I think we did it during the State of the City, but I don't know that we've covered that here. We moved up a
Oh,
few
our
ranks.
crime rates went down. They've
Yeah.
not released the 2024 numbers yet.
Okay.
We were
So we
40th
improved, we
in the
we
state.
improved in 2023, but haven't
Yes.
seen the 2024.
Yeah. Good.
I
As-
expect we will.
And that's hard to do.
It is.
Growing as a population while your crime rates go down is really
True.
hard to do.
I think SafeWise or whatever organization does that does look at a per capita basis, but the numbers we reflected in the annual report were not based on per capita. So that is just a straight data reduction in spite of population growth.
We are up to snuff on officers, right, Chief? I mean, we got a full slate and full house now, don't we? No openings. Okay, that's good. That's pretty good. Real good.
Still have some in training and some of those kind of things. But on some of these line graphs, Mayor and Council, the January doesn't always show up real well until you get to February. So on some of these, you'll notice it's not easy to see. I think it's right up there.
You know, trying to convey information to the public is a difficult thing for every municipality, everybody, because you're constantly hit with everything, you know.
I'll get to some of these lower ones, didn't include 2025, and it may just be my source link to them, so we'll get them updated for
Yeah.
next month.
So anybody with some extra time or money, Meals on Wheels is, I think regionally and statewide, they're kind of in a slump. So if you have the opportunity to plug in, that's it. They've gone from delivering hot meals several times a week to delivering frozen meals just a few times a week. So it's a great place to plug in.
They call me when they need a new ceiling panel,
That's good.
but I'm there, proud of it.
Here we go. Ooh, look at that spike in volunteer hours.
Share, trash off.
Oh, the trash off. That's gonna be every year, I'd imagine, yeah. But look at that. Y'all are giving away hard candies or something, right? All right, any questions on the January report? The financial statement was in your packet. I think we looked at enough finances tonight. Go over it during the meeting. Sure you reviewed it on your own. Without objection, I'll move on to item J, executive session, which we have none, which means we don't need to do K, reconvene. That leads us to item L. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, stay here. The time is 7:33, and we are adjourned.
Mayor's not hitting that as loud as he used to, and I
Oh, I
want to
got all
talk.
these complaints.
Wanna give you
It
that
drowned my
flash
fire.
drive and I'll